In today's video, we're going to talk about something that is very relevant for scientists and anyone doing research. How do citations and publications matter for your EB2 NIW application? So let's jump into it. The questions that we are trying to answer today is, do you need citations or do you need publications for this category EB2 NIW? I have two answers or two parts of an answer for this. The simple answer is no. There is nowhere in the official USCIS requirement for EB2 NIW where it says that you must have any of these two. Think that this category is not only for scientists, it's not only for people doing research, it's for pretty much everyone. So everyone, as long as you meet all the official requirements, you can access this green card category. However, the not so simple answer is still no, but they can help you, especially if you are a researcher. If you are a scientist, for example, like me, having citations, having publications will definitely help your case. Why? Because you may be familiar with the matter of Danazar. That's a case that created a precedent, and USCIS uses this as kind of like the rule to see if you meet the requirements, and it has three prongs. One, you have to have an endeavor that has substantial merit and national importance. Number two, you are well positioned to advance that endeavor that you're proposing. And number three, on balance, it's beneficial for the US to waive the job offer. Remember that as EB2 NIW applicant, you're trying to get a waiver on the job offer or the labor certification requirement that is needed for any employment-based green card. So these are the three prongs, and publications and citations, if you are a scientist or if you do any kind of research, they can help you really argue this point number two of the three-prong matter of Danazar requirements. And this is a direct quote from a USCIS policy manual that I talked about in past videos. I leave a link in one of the videos where I talk in detail about this. But in the evidence for demonstrating this well-positioned number two prong, you can read that they literally give citations and publications as one of the types of evidence that you can use. So, how can you demonstrate that you have publications? So, if you are a scientist and you have published, then these are, for example, some screenshots from my own publications. Then what you can do is you can print them out. You can print at least the first couple of pages. Some people only add the cover page. I added all the publications, but at least add a couple of the first pages, and then attach them to your petition as an exhibit. So the petition will be comprised mainly of a cover letter and then a lot of exhibits with all the evidence, and this is one of the types of evidence. And of course, the forms as well. So because this is one of the evidences, then you will attach them as exhibit, so then you can reference them in your cover letter. So in your cover letter, when you're discussing that you are well positioned, then you can say, as shown in exhibit 3 or 4 or whatever, I have these many publications, and you can have them attached there. But other than the number and what publications you have, you should also think about demonstrating that they are high quality publications. And that will help you even more to establish that you are well positioned for this endeavor. So to prove the quality of your publications, you can follow different strategies. You can use recommendation letters, so you can have all or some of the recommenders talk about specific contributions that your publications bring to the field, and then you can quote them and add those quotes in the cover letter when you're describing your prong related to how you're well positioned. You can have also the impact factor of the journal, so you can take a screenshot of the journal's main page. Usually in that main page, you will see the impact factor, so you can get a screenshot of that and then include it as an exhibit and cite it, reference it in your cover letter. And I'm going to show you an example of this. So, for example, I published a paper, well, more than one paper in this journal, Bioresource Technology. So you can um, go to this website. This is the official website for the journal, and usually, it gives information about the editor, and then you have a bunch of metrics, and one that is widely used is the impact factors. So you can actually screenshot this and then add it as exhibit. And then, one thing that I usually say is that impact factor may may mean a lot to us because we understand the field and we know how different journals compare. But really, to a USCIS officer, maybe this is not super informative. So you really want to go the extra mile and make it easy for them to understand that the journals where you publish are high quality. And one way you can use to do that is go to any website that provides rankings by discipline and really look for your journals and make the case. So here I provide two examples, Scimago and Google Scholar, and I'll bring over um, the websites here. So this is this Scimago rank page, so you can organize things by discipline and even get a little bit more granular. And then you will have a ranking here with all the journals and all the metrics. And you can find yours, take a screenshot, highlight the journal you published in, and then include it as evidence in an exhibit. Google Scholar also has this type of rankings. So here, for example, once you open, you have the overall ranking for all the journals in all disciplines, but then you can go to categories. And for example, in my case, I would go to life sciences, and then subcategory, I can go to biotechnology. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And for example, here number 2 is bioresource technology. That's the journal I just showed you. This actually looks very good for my application because I can screenshot this, put it as an exhibit, and reference it in the cover letter saying that according to Google Scholar, bioresource technology is number 2 journal in biotechnology. So that's really, really a strong case for the quality of the journal and by association for the quality of your work. All right, so citations, how can you demonstrate citations? Well, use Google Scholar, ResearchGate, or any other platform where you can add all your publications and get the count for number of citations. So here I have the screenshot from Google Scholar. I actually use this in my own application, but the profile at the time, I had, I think, less than 100 citations at the time. I did the screenshot and I just added everything. And this actually also served as evidence for the publication. So I did attach all the publications, but I also attached the list in Google Scholar. So that's an additional evidence. But what if you don't have, or you don't have many publications or citations? So there's many reasons why this could happen. Number one, you're not a researcher, then don't worry. Again, there's no requirement for this particular evidence. And if you're not in research, then I wouldn't worry about this. Um, it could be that you are doing research, but it's too early in your career. You still don't have any publication, or you have publications, but they are not well cited yet. So you can include a personal statement where you describe what is your research plan. So tell USCIS what specific plans you have to perform research in the US, and that can always help to show that you really have a concrete idea of what you want to do. You can look for alternative types of evidence to compensate, and I'll tell you a little bit more in the next slide. And I didn't include here, but there are websites that actually help you compare if you're a junior researcher, to establish a comparison between you and other junior researchers instead of you against scientists in general, which can be an unfair comparison. At least you can show that you are well positioned compared to people with similar experience. So that's an additional way that you can follow. Number three, why you don't have or you have few publications or citations is you don't work in academia. And when you work in private industry, like I have been working in the in the past 6 years, it's harder to publish because there are a lot of conflicts with intellectual property. Usually companies are more resistant to just publish everything. So you have to consider alternative evidence, and I'm going to talk about that next. So what are those alternative types of evidence? One is letters of recommendation. I made a video about this particular topic. I'll put a link in the description below. But you can use recommenders to talk about your contributions to compensate for the lack of published research that you have generated. And for example, if you work in a private company, this is very important because you should argue in in your cover letter that you didn't publish because of intellectual property concerns. But then someone like an executive or a manager in your company can give a little bit of details of what contributions you made in the field. Then you can have some awards or evidence that you were granted scholarship or just in general research grants. That's another piece of evidence that can help. Patents or patent applications, invention disclosures, those are types of evidence that actually show that you are creative and you are helping advance the field of endeavor. So that's really, really helpful. Then non-peer review research, book chapters, conference papers, presentations, dissertation, thesis, but make sure you always, for all of this and the above, you have evidence and you can substantiate that you have all these types of evidence. And finally, the research plan I already talked about. You should, if you think that your application needs a little bit more of strength, you can have a research plan describing what you plan to do in the US. So in conclusion, publications and citations are not a formal requirement for this category. Just think that other people, not only researchers, can apply. But for researchers, this can be a very useful way to establish that you are well positioned in the field. In case you lack this type of evidence, you can be creative and use other types, the ones we just mentioned now. So don't worry and always be creative and find different ways of really make your case to the USCIS officer. If you liked today's video, please like and subscribe.